Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo Di Paola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. All right, guys, I am your host, Butch Theory, here again this week. And before we jump into the report, we got a really cool opportunity for you. We have partnered with AFCO, and they are offering all of our listeners a free sun protection mask with any purchase of AFCO products. They make a ton of great products for all types of anglers. All you have to do to get the coupon code is text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, guys, we have a great Alabama saltwater fishing report lined up for you this week. But first, let's take a few minutes to check out a few of this week's great sponsors. This week's Alabama saltwater fishing report is brought to you by Sportsman's Marine. Sportsman's Marine has an extensive tackle selection of anything that local anglers need for saltwater and freshwater fishing, as well as boating accessories. They have the largest selection of the slick lure in Mobile and Baldwin County. They have AFCO, Pelagic, and Saltwater Fanatics apparel along with other local brands. Go check out their Edgewater, Wellcraft, and Vexus lines of boats. They offer engine services with 5-star Yamaha and Mercury mechanics. Also, if you're looking for a street legal electric golf cart, go check out their Atric golf carts. Sportsman's Marine on Highway 98, and they also have a downtown location next to Mr. Jean's Beans in Fairhope, Alabama. And also brought to us by CCA Alabama, a great way to support conservation projects like the Claude Petite Flounder and Speckled Trout Hatchery in the University of South Alabama Cobia Tagging Project is through the purchase of a distinctive CCA Alabama saltwater fishing license plate. You guys head over to Alabama Department of Revenue's distinctive license plate page at revenue.gov to get yours. And also brought to you by Fish Bites. Whether you are hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fish Bites has something for you. Family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, they pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fish Bites baits and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State of the USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com.
Well, welcome back to another special episode on the Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network. Today's show, Butch and I are going to be talking about really everything you need to consider if you're planning a lithium marine battery conversion. There's more here than what you might think, and I think you're going to be surprised at what you hear in today's show. Butch, you need to do this on your boat, man. When are you going to get your lithium converted?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's working well, so you don't want to upset the balance. It'll definitely be something that I will consider if and when I start having issues with my lead acid setup.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of don't want to create and or pull out problems if it's not a problem, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think we're going to find out a lot about what some of those problems might be today, not necessarily with your current setup. But if you do decide on a lithium conversion, hopefully we're going to help you see around some corners and make sure you don't have some of the problems that other folks that are making these switches are having on your boat. So y'all enjoy. Our guest this week is Nathan Starren with the Lithium Battery Company. Nathan, tell us first a little bit about you and your company, and then let's get into talking about lithium marine battery conversions.
Yeah, sure. So Lithium Battery Company was founded in 2014. Originally, we set out to just sell 12-volt lithium-ion batteries, and we worked a lot with marine, and we've just really transitioned the company into being more efficient with battery technology and our battery management system and our data to improve how battery is used and to maximize the energy for our consumers.
Nathan, last year here on the podcast, we really dove deep into marine lithium and just if the chemistry itself was superior than, say, AGM or lead acid batteries, and not just superior in performance, but also superior in overall economy over the life of the ownership.
Longevity, correct.
Yeah. And I mean, really what we learned is that it can be. So today, what we really want to ask you is some more specifics on points that our folks in our audience and ourselves need to consider if we're thinking about doing a conversion over to lithium from whatever kind of chemistry we're using at the moment. So my first question is understanding that lithium batteries are going to discharge differently than, say, lead acid batteries. How much power do I need? If I'm looking at my, say, lead acid setup, and I want to be sure that my lithium choice is going to give me at least as good of performance, hopefully better. What's your advice on that?
Yeah, so we usually gauge that with, if you're converting and you're in a lead acid AGM, we take 40 to 50% of that capacity and of usable capacity in an AGM battery. So if, you had a 100 amp hour AGM battery, your 50 amp hours usable with that AGM. So you do a comparison with the lithium and you're put into the 50 amp hour range, but what actually happens inside the battery for the usable amount of power, it's a different calculation of how many electronics are you running, how hard are you on your trolling motor. And what we see is that the harder you're using your electronics, your trolling motor, the more unstable the battery can be inside. So you actually are getting less usable capacity in some scenarios if your battery doesn't have the high performance cells inside. So it's a very loaded question of asking like how much power. It all depends on the user and what they need, how they're charging, and the quality of the battery.
That makes sense to me. Like you said, if we just kind of want to look at a rule of thumb, 12 volt, 100 amp hour lead acid, 12 volt, 50 amp hour lithium is going to perform in general the same in terms of, I guess you would put that as stored energy. Moving a little bit beyond that question, my thinking would be, I don't really want to come to you, Nathan, and say, hey, I've got, 3 12 volt, 100 amp hour lead acid batteries. I want to get the same amount of performance out of lithium. What do I need? I want to come to you and say, hey, this is what I'm doing with my boat. These are the electronics I'm running, the trolling motor I've got. Here's how I fish. Here's the needs. Here's the needs that I have. What do I need to run? Because it may not be a question of trying to match what I've got. It may be trying to make sure I got the right setup for what I'm trying to do, if that makes sense. So what does somebody really need to do? How can they determine how much power they need?
Well, I mean, if you have someone that has a set of goals when they go out and fish, and if they're calling you wanting lithium, they're usually disappointed in how much runtime they have to begin with. So if they're running out of battery before the end of the day and they have to cut their trip short, that's a reason that they're wanting more power. And so we ask the question of, are you a weekend person, or are you somebody that's, like a pro that does this full time, that you need that peak performance? So we don't want to sell someone a battery system extra capacity that they don't need. So that is one of our leading questions that we ask our customers is, are you somebody that just goes out once a week, twice a week, or are you someone that needs to depend on this battery pack? So that's important.
Yeah, I mean, and I could see, that being the wrong question to ask, to say, here's what I've got, can you match me up, or what do I need to do to get this again? Because like you said, in the instance I've run into, especially with lead acid and a GPS anchor style trolling motor, is that even though I've got enough power to run my trolling motor, I've had instances where before that battery was discharged, that spot lock feature or that GPS anchor feature stopped working because I didn't have enough power to run it. And so, in that scenario, like, I want to come to you and say, hey, look, my spot lock is failing on me before my batteries are really failing. What do I need to do to get me through the day? I'm planning to bottom fish for 6 hours. I want to be on the spot lock the whole time. What do I need to do to get me through that? The next question I've got is, how many batteries do I need? One of the Butch and I were walking around ICAST, and we're looking at all the different options there. And
we'll just talk about my boat setup for an example.
Yeah. So right now you've got 3 12 volt,
correct,
lead acid batteries in your boat.
Correct.
But then, they're looking at the different options. Nathan, I'm seeing 36 volt batteries, one battery. So why would somebody choose 3 12 volt lithium batteries in series as opposed to just running one 36 volt lithium?
36 volt or a 24 volt single is going to be much more efficient with the power. You have one battery management system. When you're talking about lithium needs a PCB board inside to manage the battery pack during charge and discharge. So, if you're using 3 12 volt 100 amp hour lithium batteries, you have 3 battery management systems that are all doing their own individual thing with that individual battery, trying to manage it. And then when you have it hooked up in series and you're trying to discharge it, you have like 3 different referees all fighting with each other to try to keep everything matched up. And so it's much less efficient to use 3 individual 12 volt 100 amp hour batteries, but you don't necessarily have that equation as intense with using an AGM or a lead acid. You don't have that fighting of the computer boards trying to do different things to balance the battery. So it comes down to how can you be more efficient with a single battery and its charge and discharge, that you could use a 36 volt 50 amp hour lithium ion battery that with the power pole charge that has the same performance of a 3 12 volt 100s. So a 3650 can run just as long as 3 12 volt 100s, 50 amp hours less. And with an efficient charging system and the battery management system, you can prolong that life. So it's just it's a better scenario.
So as a general rule, fewer batteries is better. They're going to be more efficient. So 136 volts going to be better in terms of efficiency than 312 volts. Is there any scenarios where, again, going back to, okay, we understand the power demands and how these things discharge and what's better from an efficiency standpoint. Now we talk about the efficient side of things. Is there ever a scenario where an angler's coming to you and saying, hey, Nathan, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, where you'd go, okay, well, in your scenario, I think you'd be better off running 312 volts in series?
Yeah, we avoid the 12 volts. So there's so much saturation with a lot of other companies selling these 12 volt 50 amp hour and 12 volt 100s, and they're so different from each other. Every single brand, every single company has their different cells and different battery management systems. There's a lot of starting batteries that are out right now in 12 volts on that side, and the starting batteries are being used for your trolling motor. And there's certain features inside these PCB boards and the battery management systems that are removed and changed to achieve a certain amount of power. So it's not efficient, and it causes a lot of headaches. So one of the biggest things for lithium 12 volts is, what do you do when it falls asleep or when it's in a low voltage disconnect and you have a 36 volt trolling motor? You got to take your whole system apart just to get that load off of that single battery so it can wake up, and then you can start charging it again. And that can happen at any point when you're out fishing. And that to me is not a good user experience for lithium, to make that switch and to have lithium in your boat, but to experience these really difficult problems.
What are some ways that you could avoid that, if I'm hearing you correctly? So you're saying if you convert from, say, 3 12 volt lead acid or AGM to the 136 volt, how can you prevent that, say, that thing going to sleep whenever you're fishing?
There's a few different ways. I mean, are we talking about like a 12 volt scenario or a single 36 volt?
Single 36, because that would shut down your fishing, correct?
Yeah, in a lot of different cases, a single battery, a single 24 and a 36, that you have a basic PCB board inside that has a voltage cutoff that is really a fantasy number of what the situation is, how much current are you drawing at that particular time. So if someone's saying their disconnect on a 12 volt battery is 10 volts, if you're discharging it pretty rapidly, that disconnect might happen at 11.5. So it comes out of nowhere, and each brand has their own battery management systems that make that cutoff. So what we did was we use a very high tech battery management system that we can control the end off of. If you're on a 36 volt battery and you're at 3%, let's turn the battery off and prevent you from discharging it anymore. Well, you save that extra 3% in your battery to keep the voltage at your terminals, instead of taking it into like a low voltage disconnect where you're completely locked out. We also have another strategy with a wake up fob. So we use a sensor on our case that you wave a sensor over the top of the case where there's QR codes, and it wakes up the battery for 30 seconds so that you can get on a charger. Otherwise, your other scenario is you got to take that battery out of your boat. You got to find another buddy with a 24 or 36 volt battery and hook jumper cables up to it and then start charging. So we're all about solving these problems before they even happen for our customers and not being in that situation and avoiding that phone call. I don't want someone calling me at 7, 8 in the morning on a Saturday telling me that I ruined their fishing trip because their batteries are dead. Like, we're getting into our event, our logging and our battery management system and our cloud reporting that we're actually telling you exactly what time your battery went dead and giving you forewarning and solving a bunch of other issues. Like, what if your extension cord was bad in your garage and you put your charger on and you walked away from it and you thought you charged, but it didn't. So like, even getting into that with the whole low voltage disconnect, and when that happens, understanding why, how we got there, because there's no reason that someone should be out in the water and their battery should be dead. But, if you did spend all day fishing, we understand that, but maybe we can be more efficient in how you use your electronics to give you more power.
Understood. That's a great explanation. I definitely understand what you're saying now. I guess I wasn't following you. You were saying that you guys put things into place in your battery management system that prevent those things from happening, to prevent people from having those low runs, to prevent the sleep mode. I understand now.
Yeah.
I want to talk about wiring a little bit. So you did a great job explaining why one, like a 36 or a 24 would be better off than, going in a series with some different batteries. What about, so I have an onboard charging system. How does that work? Is it kind of a plug and play kind of deal? Obviously, if you're going from 12 volt in a series, you're going to have to change your wiring to go to 1 lithium. But what does that charging look like, and what does the wiring system look like?
So a lot of people have maybe like a Minn Kota precision charger or Dual Pro 4-bank chargers. Those are individual 12 volt leads, and they go to your individual 12 volts. So you can have your system set up as 3 12 volts and for 36 volts, but you're actually charging your individual battery at 12. So when you go with a single 24 or 36, you now need a single charger that charges at 24 or 36. You can't use the leads from your original charger.
Gotcha. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Check out a few of this week's great sponsors. AFTCO, American Fishing Tackle Company. AFTCO's fishing clothing is designed to handle the harshest elements. From cold tournament mornings to the humid summers of Florida, their products are built to handle the extreme. They're proud to hear customer stories about the 20-plus year-long life cycle of their AFTCO products. Their passion for the outdoors goes beyond their products. They're committed to protecting their fishing resources and angler rights. Through their 10% pledge to protect and conserve, your purchase of any AFTCO product directly supports conservation initiatives. Visit aftco.com. That's AFTCO.com to learn more. And also brought to you by Richardoni Family Dentistry. Dr. Josh is a local dentist with 11 years of experience and is also an avid angler. He enjoys ripping lips as much as he enjoys making your smile perfect. At Richardoni Family Dentistry, they treat their patients like family and friends. They accept most dental insurances and see patients of all ages. Is your skin a little wrinkled from years of sun damage? Dr. Josh also offers cosmetic Botox. Don't let an achy tooth or a broken tooth from biting your fishing line too much keep you from a great day outdoors. Or if you just need a checkup, call them today at 251-342-6672 to book an appointment today. And also brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts. Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com.
So Nathan, kind of reviewing where we are, looking at how much power you need is not just a question of how much power you've got with your current lead acid or AGM batteries and saying, I want to match that with lithium. It really needs to be more of a, what am I trying to accomplish on the water question? And then matching lithium up, power needs up to that. Because one of the big advantages with lithium, obviously, is that, when you're reducing weight and because of the way the batteries discharge, you're going to be able to add capacity if you want to. Maybe you're not getting enough capacity out of your lead acid setup, and that's what's driving you towards lithium. That makes sense to me. As a rule of thumb, going with one battery versus multiple batteries in series is going to be the way to go.
More efficient. That makes sense to me.
Thing I heard you say, though, when you were talking about that portion is it sounds like it's really important to pay attention to the battery management system in a battery, especially in a lithium battery. And, as we look out into the marketplace, there's a ton of variation in just cost for lithium batteries. You're seeing some that are super cheap, some that are super expensive. I would imagine that BMS is something that everybody needs to really think about when it comes to the points that they're going to want to consider when they're trying to choose which lithium they want to go with. What else is there, though? How would you maybe help our audiences see around corners where, the day one of getting just about any lithium battery may seem like they're all about the same, but I'm not really worried about day one. I'm worried about 2 years down the line.
Right.
All right. So the now scenario is, I wish people would do more research on even a simple capacity test of a brand that they're looking to invest in. Maybe some forums of people that have batteries and actually test the usable capacity inside these batteries. I mean, we're seeing brands that have, a 36 volt, 60 some amp hour battery, and you put 25 amps on it, you're getting 41, 42 usable amp hours. The more current you're trying to demand from that battery, the less capacity, usable capacity you're getting. So, you see a price tag that this makes sense financially, but when you're on your spot lock or you're in a high current in windy situations, you need that power to be coming out of the battery and giving you that line voltage to run your electronics to your trolling motor. So it drives me crazy to know that there's people out there that of course you want to have a great price point to get lithium in your boat, but you're getting less what you paid for, and
right.
It's not cool.
End up costing you way more money in the long run.
Well, yeah. I mean, just apples to apples. If you've got one battery that costs X and you got one battery that costs 2 times as much, and on the sticker on the outside says they're the same thing, the average consumer, myself being one of those, is not going to know the difference unless you do something like you're talking about, where you got a capacity test. Because even though that other battery may cost twice as much or 50% as much, if it's putting out 50% more power, then they really cost the same. So I see what you're saying there. How are those capacity tests done? Where can somebody go for that information? If I'm just looking at all the different manufacturers out there, how do I get that information?
Yeah, so we use a tool. It's a machine. It's made by West Mountain Radio, and it's a digital battery analyzer. And so you can hook up the positive and the negative terminals, and you can do mission profile. You can do a constant discharge at a set point, a specific set point, and it graphs out the entire discharge. So when we're doing this, it's actually measuring. It comes up with the final report, but it's interesting for us to see the voltage of discharging, where you see these large ripples in the discharge, and it's the internals of the battery trying to balance, and the voltage is fluctuating so much that now you're like, if we're talking about a trolling motor that's trying to get burst of current and that voltage drops out, you're now almost back in like a lead acid battery scenario of a old school voltage sag. So, I mean, it's not like for somebody to probably not going to have the equipment offhand. It is about $1,000 for testing, but there are YouTube guys that break apart batteries and do the testing, and also the mobile apps. If somebody has a mobile app, a company has a mobile app that you can you can at least go in and look at how much current you're drawing from your battery and do a basic calculation of how long you were out and what you think your power consumption was.
With these capacity tests like you're talking about, is this something that you guys provide for your batteries? Like you're publishing this information, something that's readily available? I mean, is that something that the average consumer can look for from a manufacturer? They can go say, well, can I see your capacity test?
Yeah, they're never going to have that. You're going to see the same graphs, the same lines, the same statements from everyone across the board. So, I've been doing this 10 years. Before COVID, I was over in China every other month, overseeing the cell production and really getting into the specifics of how this is done. And post COVID, there is no overseas trips, and China has gotten into a really huge trend of repurposing batteries. So the last 2 trips over in China in 2019, I was seeing multiple packing factories that were taking apart used electric bus batteries and taking the cells out and repackaging them. And I see a lot of those cells today taking apart some competitors' batteries. And, you got one competitor that has no markings on their cells and a number 1 stamped in it. And it's insane. Like, you can't really get a good grasp on which battery company is standing out whenever you have the same looking Group 31 battery cases that have the same terminals. It's really, if someone had the opportunity to just take a rubber mallet and open the battery and physically inspect it, you're going to see some inconsistencies.
That's interesting. I mean, it makes it seem like it'd be kind of hard for, the average consumer to pick different options apart and determine what's going to give them the best economy. Guys, let's take a quick break and hear from this week's sponsors.
L&M Marine. L&M Marine has something for everyone, from small hunting boats, pontoon boats, to bigger bay boats and offshore hybrids. L&M Marine LLC prides itself on its customer service and knows how important it is to have someone you can trust and to be taken care of. They are locally owned and regularly support the community. L&M Marine provides superior customer service and has an entire team that consists of professional sales members, finance experts, service technicians, and a knowledgeable parts and accessory staff to support you. Go visit their friendly, reliable, and experienced staff, now located only 6 miles north of I-10 at 34600 Highway 59 in Stapleton, Alabama, or give them a call at 251-937-1380. And also brought to you by Alabama Marine Resources. The Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers who harvest gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper that their catch must be reported through Snapper Check. This includes vessels, kayaks, and shore anglers who possess any of these reef fish. Reporting is mandatory and must be done prior to landing fish in Alabama, regardless of where the fish were caught. Anglers can report to Snapper Check online at outdooralabama.com or through the official Outdoor AL app. For more information about Snapper Check or any of the 2021 fishing seasons, please visit outdooralabama.com.
So Nathan, that BMS is important. Obviously, these capacity tests are important. Is there anything else that our listeners need to be thinking about when it comes to lithium batteries, questions they need to ask?
Yeah, do your homework on your investment. So, try to go on YouTube, read Facebook. I really enjoy reading Facebook comments from other companies because they'll have a campaign of paying a bot to ask questions, and you'll go on their Facebook page from post 6 months ago and you'll see them answering the questions, but the question isn't there anymore. Right. And then that's you're trying to manipulate the market into building the trust with your battery. That's one way to look at it. Look at how long the company's been in business. Look at their Google reviews. We work with PowerPole. I think they're one of the greatest companies I ever worked with. We work with so many different companies, but we've been able to get insight into all of the different brands that are up and coming and on the market. Everyone that was at ICAST. Before ICAST, I had every battery. I knew who was going to be at ICAST, and I did my capacity tests on them and analyzed them, and I knew what was up. And it was a different going in ICAST, we met at ICAST, but like it was a different approach with people coming up to us and not asking us what's the difference between you and this other company. It was really about seeing the success of our battery packs and what we've done with very large companies to build that success and that relationship with PowerPole, to see the entire vision of like the power and to be more efficient with your battery instead of getting ripped off by a bad product.
What are some of the problems that these batteries, like you're talking about, maybe they don't have the capacity, the stated capacity? Give me an example, like what somebody might experience on the water if they end up going with one of these types of batteries.
Yeah, so really probably a good example is if you're out fishing, you're on your trolling motor, and then all of a sudden your trolling motor just turns off. You're going to go, oh, I check my battery. And then you go to your battery and maybe you have a voltmeter and you see that there's actually voltage at the battery post. You're now thinking, can't be my battery. It's got to be my trolling motor that just went out. And so what happens inside a battery pack and with these cheap batteries is that, the higher you're discharging that battery, the less capacity you're getting. But if you could see the actual cells and the construction of how that battery pack is built, and then now when you have it at 20, 30 amps discharge, the cells are becoming so imbalanced inside that the battery management system cuts off the battery pack, not because of a voltage issue, but because of the imbalance issue. So you're going to be looking at this going, I have voltage. And as soon as you turn on your trolling motor, it's going to act normal again because you hit that cutoff, but now the voltage is going to settle back up so that everything's balanced inside and then you can reuse it again. So that's going to drive you crazy because you're going to be now calling or having a concern with what trolling motor you're using
Yeah. Oh, and I've experienced something similar to that, especially on spot lock. I mean, it seems to be, I've had more of the issues with trolling motors using that GPS anchor feature. And it's exactly like what you just described. Maybe we're sitting on a spot, we're holding that spot and everybody's fishing. And all of a sudden, we notice our lines are going the other direction or something. Everybody looks up and we're like, is that trolling motor holding? And
right.
It's not.
And the battery should have plenty of voltage to run it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. You look at your,
it's not discharged.
Right. Yeah. You got plenty of charge. And, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, hold on. Somebody goes back up there and they turn it back on and they get back on the spot and put it in spot lock again. And then you're back to holding. But I've definitely experienced that. What about longevity? You were talking about the internal structure of these batteries and how these cells are built. And if I'm understanding you correctly about, kind of those sleep and wake modes and everything, the balance of those cells is really important. But what about just the construction itself? Marine environments are notoriously harsh. We're running these boats hard, banging around.
It's hot, it's wet.
A lot of the times guys are switching to lithium as they do that because it's much lighter. They're putting those batteries up in the bow where they may have been midships before. That's going to increase, I would think, the amount of vibration and jarring. What does somebody need to be thinking about when it comes to internal constructions or questions that they need to ask about internal construction?
It really comes down to the company that's actually calling the shots and manufacturing the batteries. So we have a production running for our 3650. We have a set of standards of even the spot welding, what that has to look like, how the battery is internally connected, what kind of parts, the thickness of the metal. The biggest thing for us is like the performance cells. Like a lot of these cheaper batteries have these cells that are rated at like a 0.2 C discharge. It's very low. So when you're describing that spot lock of needing that, current, the cells aren't intended for that. Like they are going to give you some bursts in that performance, but originally they weren't designed for that. So just how everything is constructed inside, exactly for what you're describing of like, hitting some wake and the vibration and stuff like that. Like those spot welds that have the battery pack put together is so important to have those contacts made so that power can flow evenly through the battery out the terminals. So you could have bad metal connections that are joining the cells together inside the battery pack, and bad spot welds that are actually creating resistance. And now your power isn't flowing through the battery like it should. And you're not going to know that. You're going to be in the same scenario again where like the battery just cuts out. But it's just super important that you maintain a quality set of standards that you follow, because through trial and error, the marine battery, for being 10 years into this, like, we've seen batteries break. We've seen, like, one of our bolted batteries, our original 12 volt 100s, like the side of the battery, the bolts, the threads start to unthread from the vibration. And you take those failures and you build your policy on construction with your factory and the manufacturing to avoid that from happening. So a lot of other companies are just going on Alibaba and just buying a battery that they see in with a Group 31 case that's closed up, and they don't pay attention to what goes on inside. So it's very important that you're always maintaining that quality and that those just the set points of how you build a battery and how you maintain that the quality, so you don't unravel and have a bad user experience.
Always improving and improvising is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, it's always, and it always evolves. The lithium market is constantly evolving, and we still have, like, 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about batteries. But I ended up going over to China. I think it's like 16 times total, and really learning the process and just understanding how things worked. But a lot of other companies, they don't know. If you don't have a good relationship with your overseas factory, they're going to pull the switcheroo. You're going to buy 100 batteries, a container full of batteries 1 month, and the next month, their packing factories are going to switch up something to try to save a few $100 or a few $1,000. And that leads to a catastrophic failure. And they're the Chinese are the first to say, well, you weren't strict with your standards. You didn't tell us this. And you should have known to keep your same quality, but like, it changes all the time. And that's, for us, it's we've even gone as far as, if I can't get over to China, I have cameras in my factory to oversee the production and do things without me being there.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Check out a few of this week's great sponsors. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. They offer 20 Sherwin-Williams colors to choose from and have a 40-year warranty. Baker Metal and Dixie Supply, 2 names, same great service. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. And also brought to you by MB Ranch King. MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last, right here in the USA. With durability and convenience in mind, MB Ranch King's maintenance-free blinds are constructed with high-grade steel and come in a variety of sizes to meet any hunter's needs. They offer high-quality, easy-to-use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection.
Well, Nathan, like you pointed out, there's a lot that is going on where you have this in lots of different markets where something becomes popular. Entrepreneurs are going to see the popularity. They're going to see the market for it. They're going to bring products to market to fill that demand. And a lot of times those entrepreneurs can be business people that maybe don't understand the technology behind something and don't even know the right questions to ask. Like you said, to me, the protection there for the consumer is, I just want a warranty. I mean, I want to know that if I have a problem with this battery, especially something where you're spending a considerable amount more upfront, that I'm going to be protected down the line. Because that, to me, was the real advantage of the lithium chemistry, is that over time it will pay off. What do you see in terms of warranties out there, and really, how long do you think somebody ought to be able to warrant a lithium marine battery?
Yeah, I think like the whole warranty thing is a joke. What I'm seeing with the whole market, when we build batteries, we build them to have a longer life than what we would claim on our warranty. Like, we just switched up to an 11-year warranty, and I've never denied a warranty claim, but like, I want someone to know that, like, with my product, like, I want you to get 20 years out of this. I want you to like be selling this with your boat to somebody else, or like passing this off to your kids, or you know what I mean? Like, let's get to that point. But like the warranties that are out there now, really, if you read the fine print, it gets very complicated, and there's so many loopholes to this. Our battery management system has recording features, history, event logging. If you short circuit my battery, if you haven't charged your battery and you're in a cutoff state, I'm telling you, I have it logged. Even if there was, I hate to bring up the word fire, right? But if there was a fire on a boat that was nowhere near the battery and eventually worked its way towards that, my battery is recording 6 different temperature set points inside to build that history of saying, here's the cells. The cells were functioning properly. The cell voltages are stable. The heat started to progress on the right side of the battery pack. And, like, there's so many ways for all these other companies to just void warranties and to deny warranties because they're quick to market and they just want to put out a battery that is quick money, easy money. But to understand why the battery is being warranted in the first place is something that we've set out to prevent the customer from having any warranty issues, any surges, any imbalancing like issues with the battery, telling them if they haven't charged the battery, or there's so many different scenarios that how about Lithium Battery Company, the Don't Die series, solving warranty issues for trolling motor manufacturers? This history that we're gathering in our batteries is, we can tell you if you hit ground with your trolling motor. We've detected fishing line in your trolling motor. We've detected bad PCB boards inside trolling motors. That is the real, like, a solid battery pack that is more than just a battery. We're able to provide even warranty support for our OEMs, to trolling motor manufacturers, to tell them, hey, you have a bad PCB board. It's about to fail. You have 6 months before this goes. Do the right thing. Send the part to the dealer. The customer doesn't even know this right now. Get this part to them. Get something scheduled. Get it in the books so that you never have any downtime with your trolling motor. So when we're this sophisticated with even what we're seeing on the OEM and the external electronics, our warranty is really built around, how do we avoid warranties and begin with? And you don't get that with other companies. Like, yeah, your battery turns off because you're on spot lock. You have a cheap battery, it turns off. You're wondering why. You see voltage at the posts. The manufacturer knows what's going on, but they're not going to tell you because they don't want to admit that this battery is not designed to discharge rapidly on spot lock. It can do it, but it's a 0.2 C discharge cell. So what's the easiest way to avoid like bad credibility? Like, you just ignore it. And that's what I see with other companies and their warranties, is like, you're not really doing anything to even prevent the warranty. It's a statement, but like, there's so much more to this. So like, originally we started out with a conversation of, how do you talk to somebody that's, and they're describing how much power they need and what kind of battery system they need. And when you're getting into like creating this efficient process with how the battery works with trolling motors and battery chargers and how you can capture energy, like power pull charge, like that's an amazing device that charges your batteries when you're running to your next fishing spot. To harness that energy and capture that. And it's an amazing tool when you have a battery that syncs all your electronics, like your trolling motor is getting the efficient power it needs. Your battery charger is putting as much energy into the battery to charge it in an incredible time. And where we have customers with the power pole charge that I had one today that was like, Nathan, I haven't plugged into AC charge for 2 weeks. And, when we're having a conversation about how much power does someone need, it's endless. You could take one of our 24 and 36 volt batteries with a power pole charge and stay powered up, just doing your thing without having to worry about having power or wondering maybe if you need more or less. It's really giving you the tool that you can strategize and like morph the power and use it efficiently instead of, it's just a crazy tool.
What I'm hearing you say is there's a lot more to a conversion that needs to be considered beyond just how much power do I need. It's not as simple as I need 36 volt, 50 amp hour battery. You really need to kind of build it from the ground up. And then once you've figured out your performance needs, then you need to think about these things that are going to have an effect maybe years later, which comes back to the construction, the warranty, the longevity of the company that you're buying from.
Company history. That's what I was going to say. It sounds like you really need to do your due diligence on educating yourself and on company history, reading those reviews. Make sure they're not a flash in the pan. Like you're saying, these guys don't care if they're around 3 or 4 years. They're just trying to get that quick dollar.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you said, Nathan, I mean, you guys offer an 11-year warranty. I can't even think of the last time I heard of an 11-year warranty period on anything, much less a battery. That's not something I ever think about with batteries. But yeah, I mean, if folks want to reach out to you after the show, I think you've done a great job of kind of explaining the things that people need to think about. But at the end of the day, everybody's going to have a little bit different needs, and they may want to reach out and kind of talk about what they're trying to accomplish on their boat or go online. Where can we point folks to if they want to reach out to somebody with your company and just ask additional questions?
Sure. I know we're going to be rolling out some new YouTube content with a lot of this stuff that we talked about, but they can visit us lithiumbatterycompany.com or call us at 844 Lithium. We also have Facebook and Instagram. But really to go back on the I don't want people to have the misconception of like the power usage and it being a complicated thing. What I'm seeing is it comes down to, do you have a 24 or 36 volt trolling motor battery? And for us, it's one battery. It's a 36 or a 24 volt 50. And that battery with the power pole charge, there's no question about how much power you need. Even if you think you need a 36 volt 100 amp hour battery, you're just as efficient with the technology, with the charging on the water and a 50 amp hour battery. So we want to create this experience with our company that you don't have to think about how much power you need. It adapts and it evolves around what you're doing and it changes with you, so that with the power pole charge, it was when we first started doing this with the 12 volt 100s, we heard from so many people that did tournament fishing that were like, hey, we went out and we go fishing. And then when we come back to the hotel, we have to fight over an extension cord to get the power to be able to go out fishing the next day. And sometimes the power isn't reliable. And then now we're into this data capture with our batteries that we see that you left the boat ramp at 7 a.m. on a Saturday with 50 amp hours fully charged. And you went fishing from 10:12 in the morning to 2:22 in the afternoon. And you came back with 1 amp hour less than you did when you left. Now what the equation of like needing to charge your battery, you have 1 amp to put in your battery. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
non-issue.
As long as you want.
Right. Non-issue. Yeah. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's very cool, man. And thanks for sharing your knowledge on these different aspects. It's something that, we try to bring our listeners, good information about things that are affecting us all when we're out there on the water. Because at the end of the day, we just want to go fishing and we want stuff
and
to
enjoy
work.
ourselves and not have as minimal headaches as possible.
Yeah. And I don't want to have to become a battery expert out on the water.
Definitely not.
I want my trolling motor to stay where I'm asking it to stay, please. And thank you.
Yep.
Well, Nathan, man, it's been fun. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time here today. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. You'll take a quick minute and check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Foster Contracting. Fortified Roofing Pros. The recent thunderstorms that have been producing wind and hail in the area may have damaged your home's roof. The certified roofing pros at Foster Contracting offer free roof inspections, and if your roof has received damage, most homeowners will have little or no cost out of pocket when going through your insurance. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible, and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. And also brought to you by Test Calibration. If your diesel has low power or is consuming excessive amounts of fuel, these are common signs that your turbocharger may need to be rebuilt. Don't waste your money online with the cheapest options where you get no support after the sale. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel, turbochargers, and fuel injection systems since 1976. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratindieselandturbo.com.
When you start talking about volts and amps and electrical science, my brain starts to kind of hurt. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I was never really good with a lot of that in school. It's something that I've always wanted to be like, well, yeah, that's for the electrician to figure out, or that's for the battery guy to figure out. You can tell that Nathan is that guy.
Definitely.
What do you really take away from this conversation?
Like you say, man, I'm not an electricianologist for sure. I don't really understand all of that, but basically what I took out of Nathan's great interview, by the way, he did a great job of breaking things down, and he definitely clarified some things for me that I was a little bit fuzzy on. A lot of companies right now, like you were I don't remember if we were recording or not, but you and I were talking about, we went to ICAST the past 2 years. Seems like this has really exploded in the last 3 to 5 years, I would say.
Tons of lithium battery companies everywhere.
Tons. And so last year at ICAST, there was a plethora of marine lithium battery companies, and a lot of those were not back again this year.
Right.
And we did not see, and there was a lot of new companies. So it seems to be a lot of turnover. Those flash in the pan companies that Nathan was trying to warn us about. So what I took away was definitely educate yourself, get deep in them, get up in the Facebook comments. I mean, if you're spending this kind of money, get up in Facebook, slide into the DMs, figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
You got to do your due diligence on this, because
educate yourself, Google reviews, make sure it's not do some company history, research. That's what I took away.
Me too, man. I think what's cool about this is that if you get the right setup, this has potential to, I don't even want to say game changer because it just gets used so much, but this is really going to change the way you're able to fish using your trolling motor, your electronics, your shallow water anchors, all these kind of things. And if you do it right, it's going to make it a joy. It's going to make it a all positive experience. And we've talked to enough anglers that are doing it right, and they're like, man, it's amazing. It's just amazing what I'm able to do now versus what I used to have to do. So much less annoyance. But if you don't do your due diligence, it can create just as much annoyance. It can be a situation where you think you're getting a good deal up front, but it's going to cost you more over time, and the headache along the way.
Dealing with those problems, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, figure out what you need, but also investigate. Make sure that you are really looking into all those things Nathan mentioned. And y'all go check out Lithium Battery Company. Sounds like they really got it going on, got it dialed in over there.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up this week. You guys, please make sure and subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to text the word fishing to 314-665-1767 to get that free AFCO sun protection mask promo code, and also to be added to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. Be safe out there. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Sam's Stop & Shop. Sam's Stop & Shop is your one-stop shop located at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach. Sam's has a little bit of everything, including a deli, inshore, offshore, and surf fishing tackle. They also have bait, clothing, groceries, name brand sunglasses, and so much more. Stop by and shop or call them at 251-981-4245 today.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo DiPaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo DiPaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
And also brought to you by Killer Dock. Killer Dock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. Killer Dock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit killerdock.com to see more. And also brought to you by BoatersList.com. Do you own a company that needs to reach boaters, anglers, and marine enthusiasts? Sign up for free today to grow your business on BoatersList.com. And also brought to you by Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588. And also brought to you by Photonus Defense. Photonus Defense PD Pro Ultralight Ultra Compact Night Vision Systems. Simply the best in class night vision systems ever built. Contact them at photonusdefense.com to learn more. Photonus Defense, Masters of Darkness. And also brought to you by Admiral Shellfish. Admiral oysters are available by the dozen at Bon Secour Fisheries, Inc. in Bon Secour, Alabama. From a simple, nutrient-dense appetizer at home or a shucking party with friends, Admiral oysters will steal the show. Call 251-949-7411 for pricing and availability. Follow their adventures on Instagram at Admiral Shellfish Co. And also brought to you by United Bank. United Bank supports our farmers with financial products and services designed specifically for agribusiness. All loans subject to credit approval, equal housing opportunity lender, member FDIC. And also brought to you by Great Days Outdoors Magazine. At Great Days Outdoors Magazine, Southern outdoor writers pick the brains of the best Southern hunters and anglers and give you the best how-to, where-to, and when-to articles, along with so much more. Great Days Outdoors Magazine can be found at your local Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Tractor Supply Company, Rural King, Bass Pro Shops, or you can save and buy online at greatdaysoutdoors.com.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by me, Joe Baya, and National Land Realty. If I can help you in any way with the purchase or sale of land in Alabama or Florida, whether it's timberland, farmland, recreational land like hunting land, or even agricultural land or ranch land like a horse farm, drop me a message at jbaya@nationalland.com.